pregnant and overwhelmed. Said something I never wanted to say. I've heard kids bring out issues in marriage/shed light, and it just makes me super sad. My spouse and I always had our bickers here and there, our fights and arguments, but we've always found a way to resolve them. I am 5.5 months pregnant, and I got so upset today that I told my spouse I hated him. I've never said that in the 10 years we've been together, but it just came out. And it's not true, but I do hate the way he makes me feel. Through most of my pregnancy, I've taken over 99% of it. Scheduling apps, researching, being my own support since I've had a very rough pregnancy, working with doctors, creating the registry. I also started a new job 2 to 3 months before I got pregnant to try to bring more income into the household. I've maintained myself through all of this with a smile and minimum dependency on him. To his credit, he attends appointments with me, he refills my drinks when I ask, and he has helped more around the house than he did before, which was almost nothing outside of his own respective areas. This was after weeks of fighting with him that I can't do it due to debilitating nausea and vomiting. He finally came around. He's also occasionally encouraging and tells me what a good job I'm doing through pregnancy. I spent all day yesterday meeting with my sister-in-law, 2 kids, who helped me finish the registry and gave me bags of clothes for the baby. I spent hours over her house, discussing all things baby, then had a bunch of bags to bring in. He gave me grief about that cause he was in pain. I said I physically can't and shouldn't be lifting these. Once brought in, he couldn't be bothered to spare a couple minutes to even look at the clothes I brought. There are hundreds of dollars of free clothes we were gifted. He had to do nothing to acquire them, and he couldn't even pretend for a second he was interested. Mind you, he pushed for having this child when we did, because of medical circumstances, and we truly had a miracle baby. So the lack of interest is astounding. I let it go. This morning I finally felt the first movements. I was so excited. This is also our first child. We both have no previous children. He couldn't be bothered to give me anything more than "That's great, babe." I said, "Do you want to feel her?" That's when he rolled over and put a hand on my stomach for about 2 seconds, and then jumped up because he was worried about not putting the tarp on his car as he thought we got light snow overnight. Again, the lack of interest is disheartening and astounding. Every week we read a weekly article from an app one have that tells us what to expect from me, for baby, tips and tricks, etc. It's become our Sunday routine. The past couple weeks, I've had to watch to make sure he doesn't sit on his phone and not listen while I read this at most 5-minute read. Of course, this morning, I catch him on his phone while reading. He claims he was staring off and wasn't even focusing on his phone. Okay, so you weren't listening to me or even paying attention to your phone? This is the most research or information he invests in our child all week. I asked him if he even looked at the registry I made. He said, "I glanced, but I couldn't tell you a single thing on there." Meaning, no, he obviously did not even click on the link I sent. In a calm tone, I said, "I really need you to take more a hand in this. I've done 99% of the work for this child, and I need you to step it up. I need you to research into this child and what it takes to have her, and be more invested." He will sit on his phone all week and play his phone games and research into alien stuff, but doesn't bother to look up infant care, pregnancy, etc. In return, he starts going off about how, even if he did, it wouldn't be good enough, which is just an excuse. I asked would he even know what to do if she was choking? No actual answer, just accusations of browbeating. To not make a long post longer, we got into more arguments as the morning went on, and I eventually hit a wall where I started breaking down. I am not a crier whatsoever, but I'm extremely stressed. I don't feel supported. I feel like he can barely afford a fraction of his load while I'm managing my own. This baby and our household, and the occasional joys I have through a rough pregnancy are repeatedly met with wet towel responses. His response to my breakdown was, "I'm not in charge of my own emotions and I'm just hormonal," despite recognizing multiple times that I've been extremely grounded and level-headed for having such a rough pregnancy and so much baggage to carry during. I fought back with, "No, I have a piss-poor partner who doesn't support me and can't be there for me in even bare minimum of ways." He kept giving me pissy, disrespectful remarks until I finally left the room and yelled, "I hate you," before slamming the door behind me. I regret saying it with my entire soul. I never ever wanted to be that partner that said that, and again, I don't hate him, but I do despise the way he makes me feel. Even in beautiful moments like feeling her kick to vulnerable moments like feeling so sick and being told you need to do the dishes more, instead of being met with compassion. When your pregnant wife is crying and telling you she doesn't feel supported, how is your first instinct not to immediately try to calm her down and walk her through it? If not for her, but for your baby she's growing inside of her.